Sandro!
Yes.
We've got to go back! We've got to go back to the past and watch a movie!
Back to the past, but where in the future?
They're here for me, Sandro!
Who's here for you?
Guys in a van!
Oh, jeez, Doc, who's here for you,
You have to
Doc?
go back and
Jeez.
save the Enterprise!
Oh, jeez, Doc.
Back to the Star Treks.
What?
Oh,
Oh, jeez, Zach, that sure was a great intro.
Yep.
Yep.
You're Morty. I mean,
Marty.
yeah, Marty, not Morty.
No.
That's a totally different character. Yeah, welcome
Wow.
to Oldie but a Goodie, the show where we review a Star Trek movie that has one particular actor in it. I wonder if you can guess.
Justin Roiland from Rick and Morty.
Absolutely.
Was he born when this came out? Probably not.
He actually played a very, very young baby Spock. I'm here, Zach. Sandra is here, yes.
Sup?
But we've also got the professor himself, Mr. Doc Brown, with us today.
That was highly illogical.
That is
Nice.
fair. That is a fair criticism.
That is the first sentence you have said on this podcast, and I
did that
appreciate
deliberately.
it.
I was going to join in. I was going to riff, but I was like, no, save it. You got a good line.
Yeah, you jumped in at the perfect time.
Perfect.
How you doing, Rhysy boy? This is Rhys, by the way.
Yeah, hi,
He's
guys.
not Doc Brown. I'm
No.
sorry to disappoint, but
No,
he'll
I'm
have
not.
to do.
I hope I can live up to that, by the way, but I'm doing pretty well. How are you guys?
Yeah, good.
Rhys, this is your first time on this podcast.
It is.
Is it your first time ever doing a podcast, Rhys?
Absolutely not.
Not?
No.
What do you mean?
I've been doing podcasts for 11 years now.
Whoa, 11 years.
Incredible.
That's more than 2.
That is more than 2.
And yeah, for people who aren't familiar, Rhys, myself, Zach, we've all done many, many, many podcasts in the past, including Improbable Podcast, you were on The Wacko Show, and then we also did The Undertaking, all about Arrow Season 2, the best season of Arrow, fight me.
Whoa.
Okay.
Arrows at dawn.
But you're on this show to talk about Star Trek 3, Search for Spock.
Spark.
However, we also talked about Star Trek 1 motion picture and Star Trek 2 Wrath of Khan over on Spin-Off on the Nerd Out channel. Link in the description to check that out, or just subscribe to Nerd Out with Rob Lloyd, Jen Spears, and Sanjay Felcher. You can find that there. The show is Spin-Off episode 7.
7.
Go listen to that one before this one. Then you'll get the context. Or, alternatively, go watch the first 2 movies.
Yes.
Then listen to the podcast. Then go back and watch the 3rd movie. Then listen to this podcast.
So stop
Yes.
now, go do that, and then come
That's
back.
like an entire day's worth. We've sorted out for you. There you go. A gift to you.
I thought this was really fun. Not as good as Wrath of Khan, but it was really fun.
Well, there's not much to say, really. It's
No.
less good than Khan, but still good.
Yes.
Perhaps more cinematic than Khan, in terms of the epic scope of
Yeah.
the visuals and where they go and stuff. Yeah.
Although I will say I did have a lot of problems with it. I had quite a lot, surprisingly. Like, as the movie went on, I'm like, I have a surprising amount of problems with it. I still liked it. There was just a lot of problems. I have a little list of them, in fact.
I didn't have as many problems with this as I thought I would, so I was quite surprised.
So there
That's
you go.
interesting.
Yeah, that's because you're with the critics and I'm with the people, you know?
Sure.
Because the critics rated it like 80%, whereas the audience rated it 60%. And I
Yep.
was surprised that I felt more on the 60% side than I did the 80% side, which was interesting.
It's almost like for every franchise that has star in front of the name, this happens.
Yeah, no, but in Khan, it's like 80% from the critics and 90% from the audience.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I was just looking at those 2 scores.
Because Wrath of Khan is a better Star Trek episode, but not a great movie. Whereas this is perhaps a better movie, but as a Star Trek story, it's
I was going to say that exact thing. I think they're becoming more and more like films as opposed to just episodes writ large.
Before we jump into Search for Spock, though, Zach, we've gotten a couple comments on YouTube. We've got a bit of feedback.
Feedback. Oh,
We're gonna interact
I
with our
love
audience.
Constructive criticism.
We did get a comment from James Chandler, who said on our episode of Hot Dog the Movie that hot dog in the title refers to hot dog skiers.
Ah, that name is still shit.
Still a bad movie name, but
It's still a bad movie name.
Also, the term hot dog skiers is about people who do mad daredevil stunts while skiing, which no one did in Hot Dog the movie.
Yeah, no, it was very tame on the ski level, actually.
Very graphic and other things, but in terms of...
Yep, that's for sure. What it
In
made
terms
up
of the-
for in Hot Dog, it made up for with hot dogging.
Exactly.
I don't,
Beat me to that. I was going to say, you saw people's hot dogs?
yeah, well, we certainly saw lots of buns. For this hot dog.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
If you want to get in contact, you can. We got an email address, or I guess comment on one of our YouTube videos. I mean, we'll see it. Zach, you chose Star Trek 3, Search for Spock, out of 2 other options that you passed up on, both of which I kind of want to watch, to be honest. But those other 2 options were Once Upon a Time in America. It's a 3-hour, 40-minute long movie, directed by the guy that did The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yeah.
It is a crime film. Robert De Niro, he goes to New York, and he's like, I'm a gangster.
I'm a gangster, yo!
Yow.
Honestly, it looks like one of the best movies of 84, but it's also very long, and I don't think we'd want to do a synopsis review on that. So
Yeah, that episode's 5 hours long.
yeah.
Beat me to it.
Oh, jeez.
I love the director, Sergio Leone, though, so I'll check it out at some point.
Yeah, no, you
Check it out at some point. And of course, Robert De Niro, one of the best. The other option that you had was Streets of Fire. You've got to say it like that.
Streets of Fire. Was that good?
Yeah, it's pretty
Okay.
perfect. It's got an old star cast, including Willem Dafoe. He's in a gang of bikers, I believe. They kidnap a rock singer, and the movie is a mixture between action, drama, neo-noir, musical, and comedy, and it sounds incredible.
Isn't that just Star Trek 3?
Rick Moranis is in it, which is awesome. Love that guy.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have to check that out at some point. Diane Lane's in it as well. It's good stuff. But anyway,
I'll come back for
let's
that.
get into Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. It was released June 1st, directed by Leonard Nimoy, best known for playing Spock.
Spock.
I really liked how his name did not appear in the opening credits for the cast. It only appeared as director. But then at the end, in the final credits, it was like also starring Leonard Nimoy as Spock. And you're like,
Because they couldn't do that because it would be a spoiler, except the movie is called The Search for Spock. This is a great segue into one of the fundamental things I'm annoyed about this film, is the title is a spoiler for the movie.
I mean, the second one had a spoilerific title too, thinking about it.
That's
I had the same
true.
thought as you. The
Yeah.
Search for Spock. What do you mean, the dead guy? Oh, he's alive. I get it.
yeah.
Yes, but also we didn't have a previous movie set up that was like a very key moment in the Star Trek universe when Spock died. You know, that important emotional moment?
We found out where his soul was the most human.
Yes.
It would be
Exactly.
It would be like calling Spider-Man 4 The Return of Tony Stark. You know?
Oh, that's
Yes.
a good name.
Yeah, yes. Good name.
Yes.
Unfortunately, a spoiler.
I would love it if when the eventual 4th Tom Holland movie comes out and Tony Stark does return in it, and we just predicted that. It'd be awesome.
Absolutely. But he's robotic Tony Stark.
Ooh.
Then they Ultron him to turn him into Vision, but Tony Stark.
That sounds... yep.
Yes.
That would happen in the comics.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I think that probably has happened in the comics, though, to be
Probably.
honest.
There's absolutely robot Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Star Trek 3.
Yeah, so directed by Leonard Nimoy. Before this, he only directed TV. This was his first feature debut, and he did a good job. It's also written and produced by Harvey Bennett, one of the guys who got a story by credit on Wrath of Khan. Except he got to write the whole thing himself this time, so good on him. For the cast, William Shatner is James T. Kirk.
Well, that was great. That was great. I appreciated that.
I think this is his best performance in Star Trek. And it's, in terms of an entire movie, I think he carries the entire movie the whole way
Yeah.
through, and he's great.
Yeah.
see that.
Okay. In terms of like quantity, better, but the end scene of Khan
Yes.
is very good because I went
Oh,
back
yeah.
and watched it again. And the way he says the lines is very emotionally hard hitting,
Oh,
which
yeah.
I appreciate.
Oh, totally.
You
true.
Klingon bastard.
not that one.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that was yeah. Although, it's Kirk.
Oh yeah, it was very on brand for sure.
The David's death in this, spoilers,
Ooh.
jumping ahead a lot.
Wow,
Spoilers.
yeah.
A lot of spoilers.
I didn't even realize it happened. I thought it was just pushed on the ground for a second.
That's one of the many things I actually have a problem with this movie, which I don't know if I'm going to get into yet, but that is one of them, that they just kind of gloss over his death
Yeah.
a lot. Kirk is like, you killed my son, boo-hoo, and then continue on with the action. Don't worry about it.
Anyway, fun fact about Shatner, he was trying to lose weight for this role, so he dieted before the start of production, but when filming started up, he started to slip, and apparently he had to have 12 different shirts made for him throughout the course of the filming of this movie.
I could see that. When he wears the uniform with like this pink shirt, I thought, ooh, that doesn't do any favors.
I didn't notice.
For the rest of the cast, it's all the returning people. DeForest Kelley is
Awesome.
Bones McCoy, and awesome as well. James Doohan is Scotty. George Takei Sulu. Walt Koenig returns as Chekhov, and Nichelle Nichols is in this for 3 minutes as Uhura. We've also got Dame Judith Anderson, who shows up at the very end as the Vulcan High Priestess T'Lar. She did this because her nephew was like, do a Star Trek film. So she was like, okay.
Hey, Roddenberry, put me in. Okay.
Yeah, well, Roddenberry wasn't involved in this movie at all, it seems. He was executive consultant, according to the credits.
Yeah. Well, as we established on the spin-off episode, he kind of proposed an idea. They didn't like it. So kind of just fired him upwards, as you said.
Yeah. For the character Savick, a carry-on from Khan, the actress Christy Alley did not return because she didn't want to be typecast. So instead, they brought in Robin Curtis, and she sticks around for the journey home as well. So they did recast Savick.
Yeah, that's annoying.
Yeah.
That was another one of my points which I didn't like, because I really liked her in the previous movie.
She's great in the previous one.
She was kind of bland in this movie. Her character, I mean. It was just her lines weren't exactly...
She was the exposition source.
Yeah, that's what she was. She didn't really have a personality. She was exposition robot.
Oh, well.
That was just me doing my Sandra impression.
Yeah. Exposition! No, you're right.
Exposition!
Was that meant to be like Shatner saying, Khan?
Yep.
Exposition!
Exposition! Exposition!
Mark Leonard returns after many years to play Spock's father, Sarek. He was, of course, in episodes of the original series and the animated series. He's great in this as well.
He was one of the better actors, I think.
Oh, he's excellent. We mentioned him before, but Merrick Buttrick plays David, aka Young Kirk, according to all of my notes, because I forgot what his name was, even though they say it every second line he's in. And finally, playing perhaps the most casual Klingon dude in all of Klingon culture, Krug, is Christopher Lloyd. Of course, the Doc from Back to the Future. He's in Taxi. He's in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So many other films. He's making some questionable performance choices in this.
I
I don't know what you mean.
I loved him.
I think he's great, but as a Klingon, I think he's a good villain, but I don't think he's a good Klingon.
I think that's the point. That's why he failed. Because the thing about them is they're usually quite menacing. But he really overcompensated with his crew. And then when he's dealing with Kirk, he's kind of barely keeping a grip of the situation.
I think that's typecasting Klingons as well, because they're a race of people. There's going to be different types of them. The thing is, their culture is all about, being strong and stuff. So he's different. That's what makes him stronger in certain areas, and that's why he has people that are following him. He's still murdering his crew. He's still got some weird slobbery dog thing. He's doing Klingon stuff, but he's different, and that's why his crew's following him. But unfortunately, that is his ultimate weakness, is that he's not quite as Klingon-y.
I think and this is perhaps an issue with the film in general, but he's very silly. And the film is very silly. And I liked the film in general being quite silly, but he didn't really sell it for me, unfortunately. But I'm glad it did for you, though, because obviously he's a great actor.
I'm okay with it, just because he's also a renegade. He's literally disobeying the laws and stuff and going, nope, I'm going to be a terrorist boy.
Yep. Yeah, he talks about honor, because Klingons are very much based in honor.
Absolutely.
But he's not being an honorable Klingon.
That's true.
Which is interesting, yeah.
At this point, the Klingons weren't super well established either. Like, they're in a bunch of original series episodes, but it wasn't until Next Gen that they were,
Yeah, they were generic bad guy people.
80% from the critics, from what I could tell, they were all like, this feels like Star Wars. Not a joke, that's what a bunch of the reviews said.
Star Wars is good. This is good film. Yes, I am a critic.
I did say this in the spin-off episode we did, but it was like they deliberately avoided going for the Star Wars feeling for the motion picture. And
Definitely.
they went more for the 2001 A Space Odyssey kind of feel.
Yeah.
But in this one, they leaned possibly towards the more popular movie franchise that was happening at the time.
Yes.
The also
That's true.
more interesting.
Oof.
I already said I liked the motion picture, but it certainly isn't an adventure like it should be.
Listen to the episode of Spin-Off for
Yes,
our
exactly.
thoughts. It's good stuff. Let's just say reception was very mixed on this movie. However, mixed leaning positive, whereas compared to the motion picture, which was mixed leaning negative. This cost $4 million more than Khan. This was $16 million.
Yeah, Khan had a surprisingly small budget, really, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it feels a lot more expensive than 16 million, especially compared to some of the garbage we've covered this year that have been more than 16.
Well, there was a few recycled assets. I noticed one.
Definitely.
The computer graphics of the weapon, whatever, the Genesis.
Exactly the same.
It's the same ones. It's the exact same ones.
There's a good enough reason for that, though. It was kind of like the same document, basically, opening it on the computer.
Yeah, I mean, it made sense. This is just a continuation of Khan, so
Yeah,
exactly.
it makes sense that they could just reuse a lot of it.
All the costumes are the same, all the sets are the same.
I like
which
that.
does make sense. Yeah, because it takes place exactly
Yeah,
afterwards.
I don't know if we were even recording the spin-off episode when we said this, but I find it really annoying in Voyager how they can't get to space dock and repair, yet the ship is pristine every episode after they have an encounter with an enemy, whereas this one has got, the Enterprise has got patches all over it.
Yeah, and has to leave with patches on it.
Yeah.
Which is alright.
Which is good.
I'm down.
What do you think it made, though, off a $16 million budget?
Ooh.
It is a hard one.
180.
Nope, way less.
I'm going 80.
I'm going 70.
It's 87, so both of your answers.
Yeah, I was thinking originally 80, but I'm like, that's a little low. I'll bump it up a zero, 180, and then you're like way lower, and I'm like, damn it, no, I should have gone for the 80.
Yep. It's the third lowest box office earnings out of every single Star Trek movie, beaten out by Final Frontier and Nemesis, perhaps the
Yay.
two worst, although I haven't seen Final Frontier in many, many years. I haven't adjusted that for inflation, though, so it's possible that Beyond might be lower, because that did effectively kill the franchise. So maybe Beyond came in lower.
I'm going to quickly just add to what killed the franchise, the film franchise. Anton Yelchin died, so they've lost their Chekhov. And J.J. Abrams became Star Wars' boy. So,
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of moving parts as to why there is no Star Trek 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then Chris Pine wanted more money.
Yeah, and that as well. But also, like, it's pretty obvious that Paramount have no faith in this IP much anymore outside of the TV, because they completely missed the 50th anniversary. They did nothing for the 50th
I know.
anniversary, and that still annoys me.
They're making up for it now, though, and I kind of forgot to mention this when we did spin-off, and it would have been perfect, but they're making a Captain Pike series with a young Spock and the number one from the Enterprise at the time.
Wow, they got a lot of Spock lying around.
On the note of having a lot of Spock laying around, do we move on to the synopsis now?
Let's go through the whole synopsis. Yes,
Woo.
this film
Cool.
starts off with flashbacks.
Wow.
Yes, it does.
I think you mean their recordings. Few recordings of the situation. It's not a flashback. It's a little blue screen that's playing recordings for someone somewhere. Is it the Klingons? Is it just the recording on the tape?
I don't know.
Whatever, it doesn't matter. Hey, you remember when Spock died? Remember when Spock died?
Remember when Spock died and he said the line, "The needs of the many outweighs the needs of the few," or the one. By the one, I mean me. I'm talking about my needs. I'm Spock. I'm dying. Goodbye.
He's dead.
That direct quote.
Hi, I'm Spock. You may recognize me
Oh,
from...
by the way, spoilers.
Oh yeah, well
Spoilers.
we've already spoiled a lot, so.
No. I'm giving them a spoiler warning now.
Anyway, Spock's coffin, I guess, cryotube.
No, it's a torpedo pod.
It's a torpedo cryotube thing. They use like 3 names for it during the span of this movie.
That is a point. I didn't notice.
Because at the start, it's like, we're going to send his coffin to this thing. And then they're like, we found a cryotube on this planet. And then the Klingon's like, it's a torpedo.
And it's got that written on it, doesn't it? Torpedo.
Yeah, it is a torpedo.
Great stuff all
I'm
around.
going to go for that.
Yeah, it's a torpedo. Coffin is just like, well, it is his coffin. You know.
Buried him in it. Well, launched him in it.
Yeah. Like, it's a coffin, but a cryotube. What the frick are you talking about, you scientific buzz?
Yeah, that was weird. I'm not going to say that this script was rushed, but might have been. Might have been a little rushed.
Yeah. I can feel it's a bit rushed.
I'm not going to say that the character who referred to it as a cryotube is a poor execution of the same character from Wrath of Khan, but I think she is.
Whoops. Anyway, Spock's torpedo is sent to the newly created planet Genesis, and it's a jungle planet.
Or a desert planet.
Or a snow-covered planet. Or Hoth.
It also just turns into Mordor.
It did.
Then it went boom.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
After the epic events of Wrath of Khan, the Enterprise has got many damages and they need to be repaired, so they head home. We also get an exposition dump where Kirk is like, all the trainees have gone, and my son David and Lieutenant Savick are over on another ship exploring the Genesis thing.
USS Grissom?
Grissom, yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Yep. I didn't like the scientific ship.
I didn't like that it was destroyed in one shot.
Well, it's a scientific vessel, and that's
Yeah,
like...
but so is Discovery.
It's big, though.
Yeah, but also the Klingon warbird is like built for war and was very big for a Klingon warbird.
It was a big ship, you're right.
Yeah.
I did have that note later on.
Yeah, so I think it's like a pimped out battleship sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
And it was an accident that they destroyed the whole thing.
yeah.
Which one of the Klingons paid with their life force.
Yeah. They didn't want to do that, but it like maybe it hit a vital thing. It also is another thing that gets glossed over, that ship gets freaking yeeted with all its crew and all its people, and literally none of the characters ever mention, all those people died. Huh.
David frowns, and then that's it.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's like, oh man, that's a bummer.
I feel like perhaps it was cut for time, because this film is very short compared to every other Star Trek movie.
It is true. It was very short.
What else happens? Straight after this, we are introduced to Commander Krug. As you mentioned, a Klingon dude played by Christopher Lloyd.
That's how he plays it, too.
Klingon
As a dude.
He's also got a weird Klingon dog. So they pick up a tape from these pirates that has a recording of Kirk explaining exactly what the Genesis is on it. And they're like, we want to use that as a weapon. And so they go off to find Kirk.
Yeah, it's funny. I keep saying the first film, but, Khan, it was really top secret. No one was talking about it. And then suddenly Kirk records this diary about it, basically.
Yeah.
With no security.
But he I think it was like a secure channel that he sent to Starfleet that they managed to intercept or something. You know?
Potentially, yeah.
I liked how they murdered the people who delivered it, though. That was good. I didn't like how the lady just died, though.
She was like, I love you, and then she blew us up.
Yeah. So, like,
What was that
why
about?
didn't they just, teleport her on board or something?
Well, because she'd seen everything and only he wants the information. But she knows about the location of the planet and knows about all of this stuff. And he's that greedy.
I was excited for her character, and then she just died, and I'm like, oh man.
Yeah. They give her a name as well. Like, she's called Valkyrus, and I was like, that's an awesome name, and then she just dies.
That's going to last a while.
That's why I thought she was going to last more than 2 seconds before she gets literally annihilated in a very cool scene. I liked the
It was cool.
explosion because
Yeah.
it did the normal Star Trek funny explosion effect that looks like the Death Star explosion, but then there's pieces of the ship that are flying about after the destruction. Which
It looks
makes
good.
sense.
And I thought the model movements in that were much better than Wrath of Khan, even though that was cool. But in the Nebula, you could kind of tell there were models taking their turns to move, but this is really fluid and really natural.
Yeah, totally. Well, if you love ship explosions, Just you wait.
Yeah, haha.
So the Enterprise returns back home. By back home, it's a giant space station. This is the first time, I believe, on screen that we have seen this design of a space station, which would
I
then,
believe so.
of course, carry on to be the main design for Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, big. This is big boy.
And that is when we're introduced to the starship Excelsior. It's got a pretty cool new sort of trans-warp drive. And Scotty's like, it's trans-warp drive. If my grandmother had wheels, she'd be a wagon.
Now, Mr. Scotty. Young minds, fresh ideas, be tolerant.
Yeah.
Have you two got the script or something?
Yeah, I wrote that down. That's one of my favorite quotes.
It's a good one.
I think it's one of the most stupid designs for a Starfleet ship I've ever seen.
You don't like the pregnant ship look or something?
No, I don't. I don't like that it looks like a beached whale.
It is sort of the butt of the movie, though. So, maybe it purposely looks a little stupid,
But the thing is, it comes back, and isn't Sulu in charge of it at some point?
Yeah, at some point, there's something involving Sulu and Excelsior.
Yeah, look, I didn't have too much of a problem. Mostly because I didn't like the science ship shape.
True, I think it's actually superior to that.
I don't like its neck. Like, the
Yes.
neck thing looked really
Yeah,
weird.
I was saying to
Yeah.
Sandro that it looks like the middle bit of the extended buses.
Yeah, like it's a bendy bus. Like,
Yeah.
the top bit of it can bend
Yeah.
side to side. Which would be an interesting feature.
Yeah, they fire a torpedo and suddenly it just goes boop.
It just goes...
To our international listeners, a bendy bus is a bus in Australia that bends in the middle.
Yeah, it's like an accordion on wheels.
Yes. It's the joke of the street wherever you go in Australia. Everyone points and laughs.
Yeah, and it goes... as it turns around corners,
Activate the transwarp accordion drive.
But before they get off the ship, Kirk notices there is a heat signature coming from Spock's quarters, and
But
so
we
he
locked that down.
so he's escorted by some of the stupidest looking guards in the galaxy.
And behaving.
Okay, first off, he walks in the room, not the security detail.
The armed and armoured security detail who were there before him, why weren't they in there searching the place?
Because their costumes are so ridiculously large they can't get through the door.
Ah, yes, makes sense.
They were deciding which one will go first. And then he turns up.
I love the old Star Trek, like, bulky security,
I
like,
don't.
things and, like, suits and stuff. I love that stuff.
I think it works in the original series because everything is so cheesy in that show.
Oh, yeah, it's super cheesy, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, in this it just kind of took me right out of it, and I was
Okay.
like, oh.
It was familiar enough with the Star Trek series for me that I didn't really bat an eye.
Yeah.
Although when you point it out, it is rather funny.
Yeah. It looks like a prototype design for, like, the RoboCop costume. Except it's made out of foam
Yeah.
and old cardboard boxes.
Yeah.
It's funnier later on in the film, and we'll get to that scene, but just the guards
Yeah.
there. Same design, same costume, but I think maybe the fact that they were just the dumb guards just ruined it for me.
Anyway, Bones is inside Spock's quarters, and he's speaking as Spock.
Whoa.
Jim, help me.
Huh? What you going on about?
You left me on Genesis.
What are you talking about? You ain't no Spocky boy. Come on. Get
Say
out.
that. Just in case a couple stragglers are just arriving in the theater, he just makes sure you know.
Hey, what are you talking about? That Spock boy that I left on the thing? You're not Spock. What is going on? Let's take you back to the infirmary.
The commander of the space station is like, everybody's on shore leave. Scotty, though, you're going to go help on the Excelsior, and we're going to retire the Enterprise because it's been destroyed. And also, it's old.
It's old as hell.
Yeah.
Which is fair. Although a bit sad. Oh man, the Empire. I love the Empire. The Empire's good. And then Scotty's like, oh yeah, I'd love to work on this ship I hate.
With the transwarp drive.
Yeah.
The new fancy transport. Great. I'd love to work on that.
Excelsior, the ship, looks like a transformer. It's a Star Trek transformer.
That's right. Well, it
That
can.
giant thing in the middle is his eye. It's like it turns into
Oh,
a
God.
Cyclops transformer or something.
Speaking of which, there's a guy in the station that Uhura ends up at. She's the head of transport or something like that. Looks like James Marsden.
He does look like
Yes,
James Marsden.
yeah.
I wrote that down as well. He's also just the worst. He's the worst person.
It's like he's chatting her up.
I think he was going to lead into a bit of chatting up, you know.
Yeah.
Well, there's the bit where I know we're jumping forward a bit, but this is where my favorite quote comes from. Kirk and Bones and Sulu have turned up to the transporter room to be beamed away, and the guy's like, "This is really unusual. They got no ID, no destination, no orders. This is really unusual." And she goes, "And I'm just going to let it happen." And he goes, "What? Have you lost all your sense of reality?"
Yeah. Anyway, Kirk is in his room and he's wearing a skiing jacket.
Look, it's cold on Earth at this time of year.
Yeah, it's pretty frosty.
Sarek drops by and is like, "You should have taken Spock's body to Vulcan and not dumped him on Genesis." Did you hear that, audience? He dumped him on Genesis.
What, did he? Oh,
Yeah, he
it's
did.
news to me.
Oh, man.
Then they do a mind meld and just repeat the death scene word for word for the third time in this movie.
I thought that was really nicely shot, though.
Yeah,
It was well
a,
shot.
It was a cool scene. And I liked the whole, the dad was just, like, really pissed off.
There's that line, I can't remember the exact wording of it, but he says his logic is compromised when it comes to his son.
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
And there's a
is
great,
great.
that actually works really well in Discovery, if you watch that. They set that up really well because they've got a really good dynamic in that.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
Sarek is like, "Oh, I tried to mind meld with you because usually when a Vulcan dies or something, they leave their mind in someone else's mind, but it's not in your mind."
So I guess he's freaking dead for good. Single
Yep.
tear.
End of the film.
Yeah, I know that's the end of the film.
And then we find out that the security cameras of the Enterprise are the same cameras that are held by the film crew from the last film. As Kirk rewatches the security footage.
Yeah, he rewatches Wrath of Khan on VHS.
Exactly.
Yes. He has Wrath of Khan on VHS, and he's just like, "Oh man, this is a great movie. I should have watched. What was I doing? Oh wait, Spock. Oh god, Spock.
Spock.
Yeah, Spock.
He really does say that way every time.
He does. It's just the way he says it, which is just great.
But yes, he rewatches through the quote-unquote security footage, which shows that before Spock knocked out McCoy getting into the radiation-filled room, he also mind melded with him.
Which I thought was a very clever way of putting
Yes.
it to the previous movie.
They did have it in the previous movie, and I wondered what he was going to remember because I didn't realize that they were setting this up, but they were.
Really? Was that a
Did they?
scene?
It is. I remember it from when we watched it.
I don't remember it being in my copy.
It's in my copy.
It's possible that they added it in post to the
Potentially,
movie afterwards.
Oh, I think they did actually because it's a completely different shot than the one they're looking at in the film.
Huh.
It's a much closer up shot, so they must have inserted it in the release.
Yeah.
Preparing. Okay, there we go.
Which is cool. I like that.
I do too.
I like it when they go back and edit the old films that I like to make it better.
George Lucas would be your best friend.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it, especially when you add an entire CGI musical sequence. That's exactly what you should do. Go back to every old sci-fi film and add a CGI music sequence.
I really like when you just make the character go no because it's his iconic thing and just put it in for no reason. That's the latest edit he did, by the way.
No, that is not the latest edit.
Oh wait, really?
The latest edit is A New Hope, where Han Solo doesn't shoot Greedo first, but when Greedo dies, he says McClunky for some reason.
Oh yeah, that's right, McClunky.
That's the most recent edit, and it makes no sense.
That's right, McClunky. I forgot about
McClunky.
McClunky.
I loved him in Home Alone. McClunky Culkin.
Good joke.
Thank you.
I didn't appreciate it. Anyway.
So they're like, we got to bring Bones and Spock's dead body to a mountain in Vulcan.
But where could his dead body be?
Definitely not on Genesis, where this film won't let you forget is where his body is.
Jesus Christ, yeah. It does rail on a bit about it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That was possibly another one of my gripes, although not as much of a gripe as some of the other things.
Let's jump over to the science vessel. What's its name again?
The Grissom, I believe.
That's it.
USS
The
Grissom.
shit ship.
That's what we'll call it from now.
The about to be yeeted.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. The SS about to be yeeted.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, my bad. Should give it its official name. Don't want to disrespect it or anything.
Yeah. Savick and young Kirk are looking at some scanners, and then they're like, "There's life forms down on the planet." So they beam down. They go to the torpedo, which is what it's called in this scene, and there's a bunch of evolved microbes around it. And then they open it up, and they're like, "Oh, where the hecky is Spock?"
Hey, there's just Spock's burial uniform. What the heck is happening here?
Where'd he go?
Where'd he go? Oh my god, Spock's alive! What? I like the microbes. That they sent this thing and didn't really think about, the microbes and stuff on it.
Yeah.
But also, I think in the original Genesis project, that it wouldn't have mattered so much because it would have taken, weeks or months or years perhaps for them to evolve into proper creatures. But because he put the unstable matter in it, and it made it much better at doing it, but too much better. In fact, it was so fast that it would, cause the whole thing to collapse on itself.
Yeah, I really like the whole idea of everything's accelerated and everything grows quicker or regenerates quicker. I'll just say that.
Yeah, that was cool.
I thought they were going to be like, hey, he died on this planet, but deaths on this planet don't matter because it would his cells regenerate too quickly, and his son was going to be like, yeah, I survived, yay.
Christopher Lloyd, yeah.
Oh, sequel idea.
Sequel idea. Well, the thing is, the planet doesn't completely blow up at the end either. So
It's true.
it's possible that they just regenerated and now it's just like a Klingon planet.
Yeah.
By the way, that's my sequel idea. I know it's early, but
Yeah, that's a great
it's
sequel
good.
idea.
That is a good sequel idea. Kirk is like, "Hey, Mr. Commander, I want to go to Genesis." And the commander's like, "You can't go to Genesis. What you talking about?" So Kirk
and
goes
that's exactly how he said
to
it.
the rest of the crew, and he says, and I think Scotty is like, "What did the commander say, Mr. Kirk? Tell me what the commander said." And Kirk says, "The word is no. I am, therefore, going anyway."
Yes.
I did like that. Oh, and then I love the scene afterwards where Bones / Spark go to a bar and has a conversation about how he orders a water, basically. And the waitress goes, "That's all your usual poison." And then DeForest Kelley raises his eyebrow and goes, "Referring to ordering poison in a bar is not logical."
That's so good. It's so good.
It is.
Which was great because obviously he's been influenced by a mind meld at the moment.
Yeah.
So he's going a little stir crazy.
And then after that sequence, Obi-Wan takes Bones over to Han Solo's table and is like, "You need a ship?"
Yes. And then Mr. Death Sticks from Attack of the Clones comes over. I want to go home and rethink my life.
"You want some death stick?" Anyway, he's trying to get a ship off this alien guy that approaches him. And he's talking about Genesis loudly because the alien is like, "Where do you want to go?" And he's like, "I want to go to Genesis." And then,
Hey, Sandro, why would he want to go to Genesis?
because Genesis is, you might not know this, but Spock died, right?
Wait, what?
What?
Yeah, sorry, spoilers.
What? Whoa.
Spock
Since
dies.
when? When did he do that? Oh my god, Spock died?
Spock dies.
Oh no.
And
Spock.
they put his body in an escape pod and they flung it towards the newly created planet Genesis.
Wasn't it a stasis tube?
It was a torpedo.
Oh,
Yeah.
A security guard approaches him and is like, "Stop talking about Genesis. Can I offer you a ride home?" But Bones is like, "Where's the logic in offering me a ride home, you idiot? If I wanted a ride home, why would I be trying to charter a space flight?"
yes.
You idiot.
And then he tries to do...
Yes, the Vulcan pitch. That's awesome. And the eyebrows are going up and he's just, it's not working. What's going on?
Oh, it's
Yeah,
so
he's-
good.
Yeah, because he's so confused at the moment, which is it's very good. I love it.
I've got written here, "Don't get smart, Tiny." What is that a reference to?
Oh, dude, it's a great scene. It's a great scene. It's where is Chekhov? What is my brain doing?
Sulu.
Sulu, yeah. Sulu freaking owns a guy like 2 heads taller than him.
Yeah.
Because he calls him tiny. And so he just slams the dude and he's like, "Don't call me tiny."
It was shot really well, though, because you didn't think this guy was actually tall, but he's a giant. He really is. And Sulu tells one of the guards, please go and get Admiral Kirk for me. So he leaves the room. And then the other guy sighs because he's bored. And so Sulu says, oh no, he yawns. He says, we're keeping you awake or something like that. And then he stands up and keeps standing up because he's huge. And says, don't get smart, Tiny.
Which was very aggressive for no reason, I'd have to say. So good thing that Sulu put him in his place. Just kabam.
Yeah, it's like asking a work colleague, are you tired? Because they're all Starfleet.
Yeah, they're all Starfleet. Yeah,
bugger off, mate.
Yeah. Then they run into the scene we were talking about before, where Uhura is just telling some rude dude to get in the closet.
Yeah, it's great. I like how the old Star Trek, characters are just badasses at this point. They're all just badasses that can kick everyone's ass because they've been in the action so long that like no one has even close to the experience they have with this crap.
Yeah,
so they're just all badasses at that point. Even the lowest character on the ship is just like a badass at this point.
So they all, Kirk, Bones, Chekhov, Scotty, and Sulu, not Uhura, because she's not a man and she can't go on this adventure. They all go onto the Starship Enterprise.
What are you talking about? 1984 was a perfectly good time for women and people of colour.
That's going to get a capital oof from me.
It's also a capital
It was a
sarcasm
different
as well.
time.
So they are all making their escape in the Enterprise, and the captain of the Excelsior is interrupted from a nail filing session to go and chase after them.
He's like, why is there a yellow alert when we're docked in a station?
I love the way he answers that too. He pokes it with the nail file.
Yeah, he's like, what the frick is happening? And the guy's like, sir, someone's taking the Enterprise. And he's like, huh? I'll be there in a second.
Here's a bridge I did like. I really like the Excelsior bridge.
It's so clean. It's so shiny.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm glad we're on board for that because I also liked that because it was very like new, flashy, high tech. Oh, we're so much better than the Enterprise. Wow, aren't we cool?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was huge too in comparison.
Yeah, which makes the butt of the joke later on much, much better.
Yes.
It was a good joke.
I like
Is this the first? Because there definitely wasn't any in motion picture. Maybe there was like one in Wrath of Khan, but like the style of, for want of a better term, a Hollywood joke. There were a lot in this. There were like a lot of properly structured jokes.
Usually through the music as well.
Oh yeah, as well. Yeah, true. Maybe that's why Star Trek fans don't like this one as much. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it seems less serious than it should be. For like near the end of it, I think.
Well, even just this bit, because the high-speed chase, where they're reversing towards the doors, and they're just not opening yet, and Sulu's looking as panicked as he can get. He's a very refrained person, but even he's like, uh-oh, this isn't good.
It's funny.
It is.
It's very like a heist film.
It is, yes.
Which is, I liked it. It was like a half heist film.
Yeah, I love this whole sequence.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Excelsior, it just stops in its tracks. It runs out of power. And Scotty has the line, the more they overthink the plumbing, the easier it is to clog up the drain. Which is a great line.
That's an inspired line.
Oh, yeah.
Love me, Scotty. Scotty is absolutely my favorite character. Will not hide that.
I agree.
I love me some Scotty.
The captain of the Excelsior actually reminds me of Howard Stark.
He so does.
Yeah, he is. He looks almost exactly the same as the actor. Yeah.
Let's go back to everyone's favorite planet, Genesis. Now, if you're unfamiliar, Genesis is a planet.
Oh!
Tell me more.
I'm familiar. Moving on.
Sarek and young Kirk find child Spock and is a little kid, and they're like, oh, Spock's cells are regenerating. And then everyone just stares at him for like 20 seconds, and their reaction is so good. And then we cut to the ship, which name I have forgotten again.
Yeah, the SS about to be yeeted.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because the Klingon ship comes out of nowhere and just blows them up.
Yeah. The SS stands for shitty ship, by the way. Just making sure everyone knows.
I liked the, it's almost a quote. I can't say it word for word because it was spoken in Klingon, but they destroy the ship.
Target the engine only.
And Christopher Lloyd is like, I wanted prisoners. And the Klingon's like, oh, lucky shot, I guess, Captain, or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then he's disintegrated.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Anyway, the Klingons, they destroy the ship. They head down to the planet Genesis, which, if you're unfamiliar,
Which planet is that?
No! Stop!
Hey, look, Zach, we've only run that joke into the ground 1/10 of the amount you run jokes into the ground, so give us a chance.
Yeah, well, that's fair. Look, I'm just playing the, like, devil's advocate, you know?
Okay,
You gotta
fair
hate
enough.
my ones, I gotta hate your ones, you know?
the Klingons head to Genesis. The microbes have turned into giant snakes. That's kind of cool.
Because everything's accelerated.
They're like gooey worm things.
Yeah.
I love them.
And then the sun just suddenly sets.
Yeah, what was that? It set so quickly.
I don't know.
Also, how did they go from the jungle part of the planet to the snow part of the planet so quickly as well?
They explained that earlier, because all the biomes are like really close together.
Ah, see, I must have been vomiting at the side of the science vessel.
Yeah. You were probably vomiting at the sight of it. At the time. So they do actually say.
No, I did hear that there were different zones, but I didn't realize they were close together.
Yeah, he says, "Wow, they're so close together." That is a thing
Okay.
he says. So there is exposition for that.
Oh, no, that's good then. I give it credit for that.
The Enterprise, they also approached Genesis, a planet made by a torpedo.
Not a stasis tube.
Was it?
Yeah.
Wait, so that made the planet? I'm not sure. Can you explain the plot to me again?
So, as we see in a scene that is the same sort of graphics as the opening sequence of Age of Empires 1 from 1999, it is created by Genesis, and also Spock's dead.
What? Spock.
So, they approach the planet Genesis, and I really liked how, even though they have all gone completely rogue, they are still so formal while piloting the ship. It's great.
It's great.
The Klingon ship is like, oh, there's people. We're going to blow them up. But Sulu's like, look out in space. You can see something a little bit distorted out there. It's almost like we're looking through a giant ship that's cloaked. And then they shoot at each other. That's that scene.
Wow, that was that whole scene concised into like 5 seconds. But yeah, I do like how cloaking works for all scanners and other things, but like manually seeing it in a viewer, they can be spotted. It's
That makes
really
sense.
hard because you have to be looking where it is and then still spot it. But it is possible to spot one.
And they tried to write it off because Sulu kind of thought, oh, it's probably just like a temperature anomaly or something like that. And then Kirk says, no, I bet it's a ship that's cloaked.
Yeah.
Because I'm a captain, I go with my feeling.
Because I'm the main character and I've got to look awesome.
Yeah, just like what the other captain says, who he also goes with his instincts.
It's true.
Yep.
So they fire at each other. The Klingons, they fire at the Enterprise and basically knock out all power. The Enterprise, before that, they fire at the Klingon ship and the poor dog gets sparks all over it and dies.
Yeah. R.A.P. Space Dog.
I was so glad to see it go.
I was devastated. Honestly, this is the most traumatic death of this movie.
Never mind the entire crew of soon-to-be yeeted.
Yeah. Look, more dramatic than their death. Absolutely.
It's actually more dramatic than freaking David's.
Yes, than David's death. Which is well-deserved. Very iconic, slimy dog character.
I wouldn't be surprised if they spent more on the design of the dog than they did paying the actor who played David.
Yeah,
Probably.
fair enough.
Oh, that reminds me, there's a line where... I was just going to say Christopher Lloyd's character. I've forgotten the character's name. He's talking to his crew, and then he says, hold steady, like he's about to say, fire soon. He's like, hold steady, and then you hear, "Arr!" And I thought, what the hell was that? And then I realised it was the dog, because it cuts to it a few shots later.
Yeah.
But I thought it was just him going, "Arr!"
I mean, you know, Klingons, they do growl a bit sometimes.
They do, yeah.
Moving on, the Enterprise has no power, and Kirk is like, so we're all like sitting ducks right now in space, looking for Spock on the planet Genesis.
Sorry, what was that, Captain? I didn't understand. What is this Genesis you speak of?
Whoa, are you me?
It is I, Kirk, except without all your memories. You see, a small bit of DNA got sent into the torpedo of you. Now it's a clone of you, but me. But I have no memories, so you'll need to explain it all to me.
This is amazing. There is a planet called there. We're not doing that again.
Wait, it contains Spock?
Spock is on a planet.
Something seems familiar about Spock. I like saying that name. Spock.
Kirk is like, we're gonna bluff. Hey, Klingons, you surrender.
Yeah, Doc Brown's like, yeah, they're bluffing. I feel it in,
Yeah.
in my instincts as well, you know?
Just kill one of the prisoners down below on the planet Genesis, which is where they left Spock in the last film.
Oh yeah, the guard goes to kill Savick, but then David's like, I'm a hero, Dad.
I'm a hero. I'm going to get killed and you won't even realize it.
Yeah, that was really weird. This
was.
film's are very tame on the, like, violence, except when it comes to gooey worm amiibos.
Yeah.
Because that one had, like, blood pouring out of it as he, like, squeezed it. But for the rest of the film, we don't see any deaths.
Nope.
Guess they wanted a better rating. I don't know, like a PG rather than M or something.
Yeah, I think because Wrath of Khan didn't make as much as the motion picture, they wanted to try and make a bit more money by making it a little bit more kid-friendly, and it didn't work, but, you know, they tried.
Yeah.
Kirk surrenders up the ship. He's like, you Klingons can come onto the ship and take all of us prisoner. But what he actually does is he sets the entire ship to self-destruct and then beams down to the planet Genesis, which is where they left Spock's body and where Spock is currently regenerating.
I did love how dramatic the Enterprise's explosion is.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah.
That scene is great. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole, like, the computer's speaking and he holds up the microphone to the captain and the captain's like, oh, it's a countdown! Quick, get out of there! Get out of there!
Great shot.
And then the Klingons get blown up, you know? This is probably my favorite part of this film.
It's probably the best Enterprise destruction.
There's a lot of
They've done it a couple times,
they
and I think
have,
this
yeah.
might be my favorite in terms of the look. Although I do really like the Enterprise crashing on that planet in Beyond. That looked amazing.
Yeah,
Beyond
yeah.
was good. What was the one? Was it Insurrection? I can't remember. Where no, it wouldn't be Insurrection. They had the Enterprise D by then. But when the Next Generation Enterprise gets destroyed and it crashes, the dish of it crashes on the planet. That one's a good one too.
great.
No, that's not First Contact, is
No,
it?
which one is that?
Generations is mainly set on one planet, so it wouldn't surprise me if...
Every second episode, the Enterprise freaking carks it.
Oh, it
So-
does now. Yeah, totally.
So,
Yeah.
you know, it's practically made of tissue paper at this point.
But anyway, there's this
Tissue
one.
paper and gum.
There's Beyond, and there's that one where they separate the engine part and the dish, and then the dish crashes in one of those next gen movies. Those are my three
Yeah,
favorites.
that's a pretty good
good ones.
crash. I have to give you that.
Yeah.
The ones in all the movies are great. The ones in the TV show, not so much.
Yeah, true.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, I do like the scene where they're, like, standing on the planet after he's teleported, and he's
Yes.
like, what have I done?
What have I done?
And Scotty's like, what you have to do, sir.
What you have to do? You blow her up, Captain.
Well,
Blew her up, you bastard. I worked for 20 years keeping that tub afloat, and you fucking blew it up.
I gave her all she's got, and you gave her death.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a great line after that, though, which is what Bones says. You did what
Yeah.
you always do, what you had to do. You turned death into a fighting chance to live.
So good.
It's very good, and I like the effect as it goes across, like, because they've teleported down onto the planet, and then can just watch the Enterprise enter the atmosphere, which is very cool.
Yeah.
Really good stuff.
Oh, sorry, I should call it now the X-Terprise.
That's literally from a Mad magazine.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah.
So not only is the Enterprise being destroyed, but the planet they're on is also blowing up.
What? Which planet was that, sorry?
The planet of...
Spock.
Planet of Spock. That's what this film should have been called, Planet of Spock.
I'm mad that the planet didn't get called Planet Spock.
Yeah. Well, actually, speaking of which, I'm surprised they didn't change the name to Planet Genocide because it was dying.
Woof.
Nice.
Got him.
Spock, his head is transforming, which was kind of cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that was a weird effect.
Yeah, and then Kirk and the team, they rock up to save the other team.
And once again, Kirk has got his anti-collar shield on because the collar stands straight up.
Yeah,
Yep.
well, he had to get a new one. Every time they dock at a station, he gets a new, up-to-date, collar-reinforced suit
It's true.
to make sure that his collar stands up at all times for maximum neck protection.
Oh, yeah.
Spock gets all aged up. They fight the Klingon boys.
Oh yeah, they kill pretty much every Klingon aside from one guy on the ship and Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all pretty much dead.
Yeah, no, what's his face beams down. Doc Brown, I should say. Beams down. I like their, like, fight, and then the planet starts blowing up, and,
Yeah.
he tries to save Doc Brown, but Doc Brown then tries to kill him, and he's like, I've just had enough of you.
Yeah. No, he says, to exactly quote him, "I have had enough of you."
Exactly.
Pretty much exactly what he said.
Because, like, in between, he's, like, kicking him, which is great.
Yes.
Yeah. So he grabs Spock and they all beam up to the Klingon ship.
He did a really clever thing because he heard Christopher Lloyd's character speak to Maltz, the other Klingon, say the beam me up in Klingon, basically. So he quotes that, tries to impersonate his voice. So when he gets beamed up, the other guy thinks it's the captain.
Yeah. I thought that was really good. I was wondering, I thought maybe Kirk would know Klingon, and I wonder if it was just that. But that makes a better scene, obviously, if he was just, like, improvising at the time.
Yeah, I thought he was improvising. I mean, he probably does. I haven't seen much Star Trek, but
Like, I don't think he does.
Kirk, in the original series, never. No.
Yeah, because like, it's only later on where, like, Klingons get more established, as we've said. So, yeah.
I really like the Klingon that's left. He's really cool.
Oh, yes. They get on the ship and there's one Klingon left and they're like, "You, Mr. Klingon, help us or die." And the Klingon's like, "But no, I do not deserve to live." Kirk responds with, "Fine, I'll kill you later."
Yeah.
And then he says, "Take him to the brig." Wait, you said you'd kill me. I lied.
Yeah, it's like later on in that scene, he's like, "Cool, let's get us out of here." And the Klingon's like, "What, you gonna kill me? Come on, man." Kirk's like, "Yeah, I lied. Take him to the brig."
And the planet Genesis,
Yeah.
Yep.
blows up.
What planet was that again?
Genesis?
Planet Spock, I believe,
Yeah.
is what you're referring to.
Former planet Spock.
They all fly off the Vulcan. They meet Sarek there. They go inside of a mountain and they do the ceremony called the refusion, which is where they're going to take all of McCoy's Spockness and put it back in Spock.
Spock.
Yeah. Which is interesting that they've done this ritual before. Like, they say it's been, like, thousands of years and it's only in legends.
And even then, only in legends.
But, like, also, did this happen at some point? Did someone die, but then they had a clone or maybe a slave? Maybe they had, like, a different person and they put
don't know.
themselves in just a random other person? And obviously that's not kosher. But, like, so is that, like, a dark ritual? I don't know. We don't get much background on that.
It's true.
Here is some fun facts for you. You know how the Grand Vulcan priestess, she's always like standing on something during this sequence, or she's being carried? Yeah, it's because they thought that she was like 5'10", but she was actually like 4'10". And they went, "Oh, whoops, we got to change the set." That's actually what happened.
Why can't you just be short and powerful?
Because it's the 80s.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and also Vulcans are usually quite tall. It's just like a thing.
They're tall and slender. You're right.
They're the elves of space. They're
true.
just tall and
What do
skinny.
you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean they're the elves of space?
sorry.
This isn't based off fantasy.
Whoa, I'm so sorry. I've said I didn't mean for that to slip out. What? They're completely different from elves in space.
I just realized we got scene 4 of 5 of Uhura in this film.
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much.
The refusion is a success.
Oh, thank God. It's not like I saw that coming a mile off.
Yeah. Anyway, it ends with Spock being
Spock.
like, "Kirk, James, Kirk?" And then Kirk is like, "Spock, my name is Kirk, and you're Spock." And then they just say each other's names for like a minute and it ends.
and then Kirk sets him up for a very terrible future because he deliberately misquotes the quote from the start of the film
Yeah.
about the needs of the many outweighing the needs of the one. He said, well, the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many. So Spock's got to be very selfish from now on.
Yeah, absolutely. Or
Yeah.
like once his memory gets back, he'll just remember the quotes the other way
Jim,
around.
you're an idiot.
Yeah. Jim.
And that is the end of the movie. I'm probably going to rate this a goodie.
I'm gonna rate this a Spock out of 10. No, I'm also rating it a goodie, but I definitely would have rated Khan higher than this.
Absolutely.
And I had a lot of issues. See, the problem is the whole concept of bringing Spock back. I love. I love Spock. He's a great character. Everybody loves Spock. The problem is it also sets a precedent that death doesn't mean anything. It's the classic, like, superhero trope of, like, oh no, Superman died. I really hope they don't. I'm so sad that, oh, and he's back. He's already back. It's been 2 comic books. He's back again.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's it.
I'm also very confused about why they did it, because it was pretty clear Leonard Nimoy didn't want to be there very much, yet they keep adding him to the films.
Yep. Yeah, I think out of the 3 films we've seen, this is definitely the most silliest, but I do think it's the most cinematic. I don't know, it feels like a movie and not like an episode, which
Agreed.
is neither a bad thing or a good thing. It's just a thing.
Yeah.
I think all of the performances are great, perhaps Shatner's best performance out of all these films / in general as a complete performance, not
Actually,
like glimpses of greatness.
Exactly. On that note, what you said just then, the complete performance kind of like carrying the whole film is really good, but there were moments in Wrath of Khan when he found out about David where I just thought, suitably dramatic. But this one is good all the way through.
And Leonard Nimoy's directing, I mean, it's phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
It's so good in this.
It's good.
Except
Incredible
for
stuff.
the David death scene, which I've said many times now. But
Yeah.
Well, the scene itself is fine. The problem is the rest of the movie kind of forgets about it. Like, there's the bit where he's like, oh no, you killed my son. Oh man. And then later on they're like, oh man, your son died.
Yeah.
yeah. Your son, your ship, and he almost goes, whatever.
Yeah, he's like, whatever. They were like garbage.
Yeah, whatever. We're going to wrap this film up in 15 minutes. Let's just go.
Yeah,
That's what he says.
Which really took me out of it.
So yeah, I think it's in the middle of the 3 we've seen for me.
I think I agree.
It's really close for me. It's probably tied with the first one. It's weirdly tied because it's way better in a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But it's also like a less Star Trek-y episode, and I do have a personal nostalgia for the episode themey
Definitely.
sort of bit of it, but it's like this one's a 7.1 where the other one was a 7 or so. I don't know what I'm
Yeah.
but like
fair
that
enough.
it's like a 0.1 above the other one, I think, for me.
It does feel almost like a comedy episode from the original series, though. Like, there are moments where it feels like a classic Star Trek episode where they go to the land of fairy tales. That was an episode that was very funny.
Yeah. Which I liked. I liked the sort of silliness of it, though.
It's definitely a mixed reception from everyone, I think, for this movie, just in general, so
Yeah.
fair enough. Yeah. But before we pitch sequels, there are sequels to this movie, obviously.
What? There's more Star Trek?
Huh?
What?
So this trilogy, it ended 2 years later in 1986 with The Voyage Home, also directed by Nimoy. Then Shatner was like, I want to direct an episode. And he did The Final Frontier and everyone hated it. It almost killed the franchise again. But then they did The Undiscovered Country and it was great.
Was it though?
And then there's of course Shatner's final movie, Star Trek Generations, which...
I like that one. Again, we're going to have to do the next gen films on spin-off.
I think so.
I think so. That'd be a good plan.
You kind of hinted at your sequel that you were going to pitch before, Rhys.
Yeah, I did. It's basically the whole idea of there's still like similar to Doctor Who regeneration energy from Time Lords. Genesis is giving off this energy that can revive a dead Klingon. So yeah, the Genesis device and energy revives Christopher Lloyd's character. I keep forgetting his name. What is his name? Krug?
Yeah, Krug.
Yeah, brings Krug back, and maybe it becomes a bit of a Klingon planet, or maybe he just comes back with a lot of power. And it's just basically revenge story.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The Wrath of Krug.
The Wrath of Krug.
Wrath of Krug. It's just the same as Khan, but it's just Krug. The whole
Threw me
movie.
into a pit. God damn it.
My idea, which I'll quickly go, is one of the worst ideas I've ever had. It is a midquel, takes place halfway through this movie, in which Sarek, David, and Spock are all growing up together. At least they are from the perspective of Spock. And young Spock and young Kirk, they go off on adventures on this planet, maybe to vie for the love of Sarek? I don't know. It's bad. But it's just... It's just an excuse to have young Spock and young Kirk going off on adventures.
God, that hurt to hear. As you kept talking, it got worse and worse.
So it's a terrible idea, yeah.
Also, bring back the worst female character in Star Trek for them to love. Oh my god!
I've actually got 2 more sequels I've come up with on the spot.
I've got a sequel.
Okay, you go first, and then I'll give my 2 extra ones, which are kind of half-assed. So you go.
Yeah. Okay. So my sequel is, we were talking about the regenerative qualities of this planet.
Yeah.
So, as Krug is sent into the core of this planet, we cut to David and the Klingon, and they wake up and pat down their wounds. And it's like, oh, I'm alive, what the heck? And then he looks over at the Klingon, and they have a sort of we're both alive. And they sort of get up and brush themselves off, and then are like, oh wait, we're enemies. And then they fight each other. With, I think the Klingon managing to win in the end, stabbing him and then moving on. Meanwhile, David, once again, he revives because of the revive energy, gets up and is like, this isn't working. And while the Klingon is looking for his recorder, David just kind of pushes him into a lava pit. Meanwhile, cut to our favorite Doc Brown as he goes into the core of this planet, full of regenerative abilities, and it grabs hold of him, combining it with this human DNA that's around in the area from David, and it transforms him into a mad human scientist, giving him a much more infused intelligence, but because of all the traumaticness of being in lava and all that, he can't remember who he really was. All he knows is that he's a human with now this blessings of insane geniusness that the Genesis device has parted on him.
But because of the destruction of the planet, let me guess, it tore a rift in space and time?
Oh, absolutely. And he gets launched through it. Along with David and this half-fried Klingon into a very young Earth. Very strange. And then, an episode of Back to the Future happens.
He also meets somebody who he befriends, and his name is Scott. And whenever he does anything good, he goes, "Oh, great, Scott."
Yeah. No, Scotty gets caught in this time rift as well. And Scotty helps him build the time machine.
Yes.
So he's like, "Great, Scott! That's a great work you're doing there."
Wow.
And that sort of thing. And he sort of loves that phrase. So he just starts using that, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. I could hear the pain that Sandra's in.
Oh boy.
Yeah. That's my sequel idea.
Yeah.
Rhys, you had presumably better ideas.
Oh, I don't know about better, because there's no topping that. That's great.
Uh-huh.
But my sequel, and I might start with the first scene. It kind of starts with a montage of all the characters waking up on the Enterprise. You have Kirk, maybe there's a monologue just talking about how the crew's going. But he's noticing something suspicious going on with McCoy and Spock. Because you see...
Oh, no.
Spock and McCoy... They wake up, they go through their usual routine, they get in their uniform, except for some reason, when they walk out to go to their stations, McCoy goes to the bridge, goes to the science panel, and Spock goes to the med bay.
Oh, no.
McCoy's eyebrow is permanently stuck up, raised, because he's questioning the world. And he's looking for the illogical points of view in it. Basically, they transferred the wrong brain during the refusion process.
They did a swap-a-runo.
Exactly.
And his personality is all logical. And Spock is like, I love illogicals. I love emotions. Ha ha.
Wow.
It's me, a Spocky boy.
Wow.
I don't know why he's all Italian.
Oh, boy.
I don't know. That was pretty good, I thought.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Well, that
yeah.
is the sequels, which I guess means we move on to another convoluted
Which is
segment.
why we don't write for Star Trek.
Ooh, the next segment is...
Raving reviews.
Nice.
These are the raving reviews of the Oldie but the Goodie podcast.
Spock, we have to figure out what these reviewers have reviewed it out of 5. Spock, can you guess what these dudes? That's the idea. I get some reviews. The user reviews, not critic reviews, because everyone knows critics are shills.
Ouch.
It would be illogical to go for the critics' reviews.
Oh, absolutely. It would be purely illogical. Sandro and Rhys have to guess the score portion of this section.
I always fail at this when I play along, and I'm on both players' sides.
Seeing as there's 2 people, it's a competition to see who can get the most points.
What we'll do is we'll do the classic Star Trek da 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 da.
Absolutely. Da 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 da. Derek says 7.5 out of 10. Solid, but not very spectacular, especially after Wrath of Khan. So what did he rate this?
3.
I'm gonna go 3 as well.
You're gonna go 3? He actually rated this 4 out of 5.
Oh, damn.
I thought you guys would have got that with the, 7.5 out of 10. Oh, well. MD says, well, you should get this one then. It's decent.
2.5.
I was about to say that, yeah, 2.5.
Okay. You're both 2.5?
Yeah.
Seems like it.
I'll risk
Well,
it.
that's correct. It's
Yay!
2.5. Well
Hey!
done. Points for all. William, he says,
Riker?
this is an enjoyable movie. Good plot and good cast. 8.2 out of 10.
Ooh.
So I'm gonna go 4.5.
I'm gonna go 4.
It's 4 out of 5.
There we
well
go.
done, Sandro. Grabbing the lead.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we can all agree with Tina here, which is just waiting for one Great Scott from Christopher Klingon.
Christopher Klingon.
This is great.
Yeah.
I love
Perfect.
Christopher Klingon.
I think I'm gonna go for a 3 on this one.
A 3, okay.
3.5.
3.5. It's actually 3.5.
Ooh.
Well
Yay.
done. Rhys tying up the scores.
Yeah,
Very good.
2 each.
I think, Rhys, if you'll check the chat, I think you, as a professional podcaster, can read this one a bit better than I can. So
really?
Ryan says that. If you'd like to read that out for the podcast.
Inspired by a certain James T. Kirk from The Wrath of Khan, I'm just going to say... blue.
Yep, that was perfectly it.
Spot on. That is a 5 out of 5.
Yeah, that's a 5 out of 5 from you. What do you think?
I think it's a spam message, but
It doesn't matter what the message is. It still has a rating.
and it's one of those ones that would be an extreme, so I'm going to go the other end of the spectrum. I'm guessing it'll be wrong, but I just want some variety, so it's 0 or 0.5.
It's 3 out of 5.
What?
3 out of 5. It's right in the middle. I don't know, man.
Oh, wow.
A comma symbol A comma A comma A comma
Oh, it's
A,
Elon
comma, A.
Musk's kid.
It's Elon Musk and Grimes kid.
Clearly, you guys didn't pick up on that one.
I know.
That's not my fault. Paul says, "The search for Spock,
Spock.
finding Nemo-y."
Yeah, okay.
So I suppose Genesis is the equivalent of 32 Wallaby Way, Sydney.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
And Spock is Nemo who got caught in a net, and by a net I mean a torpedo or a cryogenic chamber. We're not sure.
Really don't know which it is. If you know, email us.
Yeah, I'm going to go 3.5.
Are you going 3.5?
I think this is a negative review, actually. I'm going to go 2.5.
Ooh, it's actually a 3 again.
Oh, right in the middle.
You guys, yeah, right in the middle of you guys. Unfortunate.
Although we're closing it in, aren't we?
Yeah, it's pretty close at the moment, I believe. And Andrea, with the most reasonable review, I think, is a nice approach to friendship.
Oh,
I'm going to go 4 again.
I'm going to go 3.
It's 3 out of 5. Oh my
Oh.
God, Rhys gets it.
Takes
No
it.
way.
Takes it away with 1
Sandra's
point.
defeated once again. I can't believe it.
I genuinely wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, no, I like even as a thing, like there's a running joke that
I
Sandra
know.
loses these, but
know.
genuinely,
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting
Wow.
that because, like I said, I play along and I try to take almost 2 guesses and sometimes neither of them are right.
Yeah.
I take sides with either, the guest or Sandro, and
Oh,
I get it wrong a lot of the time.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
well, there's your problem. You're taking sides with Sandro.
It could be it.
We were tied for so much of that, but then you...
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Final
was
point.
close. And then just at the end.
All right.
Wow, unfortunate.
Well, that brings us to the end of another episode of Oldie But a Goodie. Be sure to join us next week where we will talk about whatever I pick at the end of the episode. But before we choose that, as always, you can find us on Facebook, you can find us on YouTube, you can find me on Instagram, you can find Zach on TikTok. No, you can't. You can find the show...
Excuse me. Wow. Check out our brother podcast and or sister podcast, Nerd Out.
Nerd Out and also Nerd Out spin-off as well. They're both on the Nerd Out channel. Link in the description. Reese, do you have anything else you want to plug?
Oh, yeah, well, you can find me on Instagram as well, and you could find me on YouTube. And I strongly encourage people to jump on there because that will strongly encourage me to actually make content.
Well, I guess that leaves nothing else but for next week's movie to be chosen.
Right, Sandra. Well, you've got 4 pretty decent options, I would say. Starting with Beat Street.
It's a good name.
Yeah, better than Hot Dog, that's for sure. A young hip-hop artist aspires to make it big as a disc jockey.
Oh, cool.
It's another dance film.
So it's just like Breakin', except he's a musician instead of a...
Yes.
Cool. All right.
We have a film called Ghostbusters.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, I don't know what it says. It just says in my notes here, I ain't afraid of no ghost. I don't know what that means.
Well, I can tell you one thing. Busting makes me feel good.
Yeah, that is true. I think everyone can relate to that. And then we have Gremlins, which I will put out. I watched that very recently, like this year,
Oh, nice.
which is another small little comedy horror with little mischievous creatures who like to destroy things.
Oh.
But yeah, Gremlins.
So like the dog in this movie.
Yes, except more mischief and less feeding them at midnight.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And then we have Top Secret, a parody of Elvis Presley movies, as well as a spy film and World War II films.
Ooh.
Stars Val Kilmer.
Ooh.
Na 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 na. Kilmer.
Yeah. Written and directed by the dudes behind Naked Gun
Oh, heck yeah.
and Aeroplane.
Ooh, heck yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty
Well, those, 4 good options. We already
Yeah.
know that dance films in the 80s are great because Breakin' was amazing. Top Secret sounds good. However, much like The Naked Gun, which was an option, one of the films was an option last year, we can't do an episode on that because it doesn't have a plot and all of the jokes are visual gags. So
Yeah,
that would be probably not great for an episode. So really, between Ghostbusters and Gremlins...
Just verbally convey the visual jokes. That sounds like a great episode. But yeah, Ghostbusters or Gremlins? That's a hard choice.
that is so hard. Because
I know what I would decide.
Gremlins is great.
Yeah,
But also, Ghostbusters is like
Ghostbusters.
classic great.
It's a shame that we get both of them on the same
That is a shame.
schedule because I do like both of them quite heavily.
Sandro, it's almost like you need to call in a guest to help you kind of decide what it is.
Yes.
So who you going to call?
Let's do Ghostbusters.
Yeah, but Ghostbusters, yeah.
Also, we do have a guest in our arsenal of friends of the show who is perhaps the biggest fan of Ghostbusters. Maybe I'll see if that person wants to come on next week.
All right, well, we'll see how that goes. I mean, Gremlins is also good, but like I think Ghostbusters is the better option
Yeah.
there for a more iconic film.
Although I still maintain that Gremlins 2 is better than Gremlins, but anyway.
Really?
Yeah, I quite like Gremlins
I don't
2.
think I've seen Gremlins 2.
I liked it as a kid, so chances are it's not
Oh
as
no.
good. So, yeah. But anyway, let's wrap it up with our favourite quote from the movie we just saw, that being Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, in which Spock dies, and there's also a planet called Genesis. What's your favourite, Zach?
Now, Mr. Scotty, young minds, fresh ideas, be tolerant.
What's yours, Reese?
What? Have you lost all your sense of reality?
Yeah, watching this movie.
Fantastic. And my favourite is, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one, that being me, talking about myself. I'm Spock. Hi, it's me, Spock. I'm dying. I'm dead. I'm about to die.
Spock, Why are you speaking so strangely, Spock? I don't
'Cause
understand.
I've turned into a young adult in Australia. Hello, it's me, Spock. How you doing? How you doing, buddy?
Also, make sure to keep an eye on the Doctor. I mind melded with him with all my memories. Make sure you take him to Vulcan.
Damn it, Jim. I'm a doctor, not a Vulcan.
And don't shoot my coffin. That's right, it's a coffin. I'm confirming it now. Don't shoot my coffin at the planet Genesis, which was just created by a bomb that terraforms planets.
Yeah, don't do that. Otherwise, my dad will be very upset with you. Bye.